Hey Optimancers, Chris here. So if you've been watching the news, you've probably been hearing about AI technology a lot, particularly about Chat GPT. Chat GPT is an AI language model developed by OpenAI that can generate human-like text based on the input provided to it. It's trained on a large corpus of text from the internet, which allows it to generate responses to a wide range of questions and topics. Now, let's talk about using Chat GPT for your Dungeons & Dragons game. As we all know, D&D is a fantastic way to spend time with friends, but it can be a lot of work for the game master. This is where ChatGPT can help. Let's start with the pros. Firstly, ChatGPT can provide quick and accurate responses to any questions your players may have about the world, rules, and characters. This can help keep the game moving smoothly, so you can spend more time enjoying the experience with your friends. Another pro is that ChatGPT can help generate new and interesting content for your game. Whether you're looking for new character ideas, quest hooks, or dungeon layouts, ChatGPT can help come up with some fresh and exciting content on the fly. Now, let's talk about some of the cons. Firstly, while ChatGPT is great at answering questions, it's not always perfect. Sometimes it might provide information that's incorrect or not in line with your game world. As a game master, it's important to be aware of this and be prepared to override ChatGPT's responses if it's necessary. Another con is that ChatGPT can take away from the organic feel of a D&D game. The beauty of D&D is that it allows for player choice and creativity. By relying too heavily on ChatGPT, you might miss out on some of the spontaneous moments that make D&D so much fun. In conclusion, using ChatGPT for your D&D game can be a helpful tool, but it's important to use it in moderation. It's up to you to determine how much assistance you need and how much you want to rely on ChatGPT. So, how did that sound? The reason I ask is because the script you just heard, I did not write it. So I am on ChatGPT right now, and this is free. You can Google ChatGPT, sign up for an account. It's pretty easy. But I just wrote into it, write a script for a YouTube video titled The Pros and Cons of Using ChatGPT for Your Dungeons & Dragons Game. The script starts, Hey Optimancers, Chris here. So it wrote me a script, and I thought it was a little abrupt, so I said, write the script again, but this time, after the introduction of Hey Optimancers, Chris here, provide an explanation of what ChatGPT is before talking about Dungeons & Dragons. And then it did that, but it kind of went into it based on the assumption you already knew what it was. So then I wrote one more time, write the script again, but add in a sentence right after Hey Optimancers, Chris here, include an introduction of ChatGPT that starts, so if you've been watching the news, you've probably been hearing about AI technology a lot, particularly about ChatGPT, and then, word for word, that's the script I started this video with. All in all, 2 minutes maybe to get this done. Now, I promised a video on the Best Wild Shape forums today. It will come on Friday. I swear it is done. It will be available publicly on Friday. I want to talk about ChatGPT today. You'll see why. I think it's pretty dramatic and it has me pretty excited. I was brought on to the idea of using ChatGPT for Dungeons & Dragons by a friend of mine named John. Thank you, John. He said, Chris, hope all is well. I've been playing around with GPT-3. You've probably seen it in the news. It can complete all my graduate level programming assignments in about 3 seconds, whereas my students would take 10 to 20 hours per assignment. I did try a D&D query and got some interesting results. See below. I'm not sure how original this creature is, but it might be fun to play around with or make a video about GPT/D&D. And then he wrote, design a monster for a D&D campaign, and it came up with a Shadow Drake, a Dragon Undead. Now, we normally don't have 2 creature subtypes in one creature, so that would be an error. Size large, CR17, blah, 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 blah. We've got special traits, actions, descriptions. And I said, wow, that's cool. All right. So I decided I was going to play around with this a little bit. But if you want to play around with it yourself, here's how you get started. So first, you're going to create an OpenAI account. So you go to chat.openai.com. You register for an account with an email. You need to create an account to log in and interact with ChatGPT. This is free, by the way. Then you accept the ChatGPT terms. Once you've logged into your OpenAI account, read through the terms and disclosure from ChatGPT and click on Next. And then start writing. That's it. Now you know how to use ChatGPT. It's time to get started with it and ask the language model any burning questions you may have to see what kind of answers you can get. So I have been playing around with ChatGPT for a few days, just a few minutes here, a few minutes there. I just came back to ChatGPT to show you what things it could do, and I got this message: ChatGPT is at capacity right now. And I got this same message yesterday, and I didn't get it a couple days before that. And I'm wondering if there's so much momentum for ChatGPT right now, this might be happening more and more as we move on. So what I'm going to be doing is I'll be leaving this video now, and then I'll come back in a couple hours and we will try again. So I tried a couple hours later and it was still at capacity, and now it is Monday morning. So I was recording on Sunday and it is still at capacity. So it is really hard to get onto ChatGPT right now. Now, fortunately, when I was messing around with this yesterday, I recorded what I was messing around with. So I am going to show you what it can do, but I'm hoping that they can increase the capacity so that we can actually use this tool. So the first command I wrote in was write an adventure for Dungeons and Dragons. And then I will show you this in real time, just how quickly it developed this adventure. So we have the adventure of the Lost Temple. We begin with an introduction. The players are adventurers hired by the local king to retrieve a powerful artifact said to be hidden within the ancient temple deep in the jungle. Then we have Act 1, Journey to the Temple. The players start their journey from the capital city and must navigate through the dense jungle to reach the temple. Various obstacles along the way, dangerous wildlife, and treacherous terrain. Then they discover a rival group of adventurers is also seeking the artifact, and they're going to stop at nothing to beat the players to it. Then we have Act 2, Exploring the Temple. Once the players arrive at the temple, they find it is indeed cursed. The temple is filled with traps, puzzles, and undead creatures that the players must overcome. And as they delve deeper into the temple, they discover that the curse was put in place by a powerful wizard who sought to protect the artifact from falling into the wrong hands. The wizard still guards the artifact, and let's see, it says, even in death, as the players must defeat him to claim the artifact. Then we have a final confrontation, that's Act 3. Final showdown takes place in the chamber of the heart of the temple. Players must face the powerful wizard and his undead minions to claim the artifact. And the artifact is revealed to be a powerful amulet that holds the key to unlocking the power of an ancient and terrible demon. The players must decide whether to destroy the amulet and protect the world from the demon, or use its power for their own game. Now, there's no super original ideas here, but that took it 1 minute. And if, let's say you didn't like the idea of this adventure, but you had something else specific in mind, we can do that as well. Let me show you. So I asked it to write the adventure again, but this time have it occur underwater. So now it's the adventure of the Sunken City. So the players are underwater adventurers hired by wealthy merchants to explore a legendary sunken city filled with treasures and ancient relics. And the city is said to be guarded by powerful sea creatures and haunted by the spirits of its former inhabitants. And then we have Journey to the Sunken City. We still have the rival group of adventurers. So we're kind of filling the same themes as the first adventure, but it has been modified to fit the setting that we wanted. Then exploring the sunken city. And then we have the final confrontation. And this time we are facing a powerful sorceress and her sea creature minions in order to claim the treasures. So very similar adventure, but it has been modified by Chat GPT to fit the setting that I asked for. And I assume that's because I asked it to rewrite the adventure, so it's done the same kind of themes, but it has just fit it in the way I asked it to. So I want to see if I can get it to flesh out the adventure a little bit, so I'm asking it to provide the statistics for the monsters of the adventure. And it is taking some time on this one. It's got to think. And then it says, for the adventure of the Sunken City, I suggest using the 5th edition of the Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual as a reference for statistics. So now it is going to give us some monster statistics, and we start with a giant moray eel, and it looks like it is not particularly original, so it's just like armor class, hit points, swim speed, and a bite attack. So it is made up a new creature, but nothing too original about it. Then we've got a sea serpent, and this one has armor class 14, 90 hit points, swim speed 60 feet. It's got a bite attack, and then it's got a swallow feature. So the swallow feature, if we look here, it says if it makes a bite attack against a medium or smaller creature, it is grappling, and the target hits, the target is swallowed, and the grapple ends. And then the swallowed target, blinded and restrained, all that stuff. Now, normally, if a creature has the swallow feature, its bite attack would have an auto grapple, but Chat GPT hasn't figured that out. So these are the little errors that we can see with Chat GPT. And then if we look at the haunted spirit, I mean, it just looks like the ghost, right? So we have possession and etherealness. I think the hit points are probably lower than the ghost, but it's obviously based on the ghost. And then we have a sea hag, and of course there are sea hags already in D&D, though this does appear to be different. Hit points are the same. It has a slower swim speed, and sea hag has a land speed. This one does not. And it has claws. The claws appear to be slightly different, but very similar. And then instead of the death glare, they've changed it with a hex, which just does damage. And then it regains hit points equal to the damage dealt. So, not particularly interesting creatures, but it has created new creatures. So what I'm thinking is, what if I tell it that these creatures don't seem very original? What can it come up with that's more original? So I put in, provide statistics for the monsters in the adventure, but make them original monsters, not ones already published. And let's see what it comes up with. So the first thing it came up with is a reef leviathan. This is a beast, and it has a bite attack and bubble blast. So that's original. So it says it's a ranged spell attack, +5 to hit, does 2d6 plus 2 damage, and the target must make a strength saving throw DC 12 or be knocked prone. So that's original. Then we've got Siren Spawn. This is an aberration, has a bite attack, and enthrall. So it sings a beautiful song, attempting to charm all creatures within 60 feet. They make wisdom saving throws DC 12 or be charmed. Then it has amphibious, can breathe both air and water. Though I notice it just gave it a swim speed. It doesn't know to give it both a walking speed and a swim speed if it can survive on land. So again, we're seeing the little errors in Chat GPT. And then a ghostly sea captain, which is undead, spectral touch, and etherealness. So the ghostly sea captain enters the ethereal plane from the material plane or vice versa. And finally, we have a deep sea witch. And this appears to be a fiend. And what do we got? A trident attack, which makes sense for a sea creature, and spell casting, and a spell save DC 13, and +5 to hit spell attacks, and it has magic missile, cure wounds, and minor illusion. So I'd say those are more original, though again, we're not into the creativity that you would get maybe from a human being, at least not yet. So now I figure we probably want a DM script for the adventure. So I'm going to ask it for that. And, I'm basically looking for like the box text to read. And it says, sure, here's a sample DM script for the adventures of the Sunken City underwater adventure. Setting the scene as the players make their way through the ocean, they come across an old shipwreck. The ship is sunken deep into the ocean. It's been there for many years. Players can see the ship's mast peeking out of the water, and they hear a strange melody coming from the depths below. That would be our sea siren, I assume. Then we have the reef leviathan. As they approach the shipwreck, they're suddenly attacked by a massive creature, the reef leviathan. The reef leviathan is a massive creature that is capable of attacking with its bite and bubble blast. I'm not sure, this doesn't read like box text to me. Maybe it needs to learn a little bit more. It's more like explaining to me how the creatures fit into the adventure. Then we have introducing the siren spawn. So as they reach the sunken city, they come across a group of strange fish-like creatures called siren spawns. And then we have introducing the ghostly sea captain. As they explore the sunken city, they come across a ghostly sea captain. And then introducing the sea witch, which is in the treasure room and is the final boss of the adventure. And then, conclusion, if the players successfully defeat the deep sea witch and claim the treasure, they can return to the surface and collect their rewards. So I'm going to ask it to make a new adventure, this one taking place in a castle in the clouds. And so what it says, let's see. So first off, I notice it is changed the format to kind of do the DM script that I had already taught it to do. So it says, players are traveling through the sky. So it's assuming the players can already fly, which I normally wouldn't be assuming. They come across majestic castle floating in the clouds, made of shimmering crystal and guarded by fierce cloud creatures. And then we have introducing the Cloud Guardian, and then we have introducing the Cloud Elementals, and finally we have the Thunderlord. I want to stop it and ask it what to do if the players can't fly. So I said, rewrite the adventure, but this time include a way for non-flying characters to reach the Cloud Castle. It says, sure, here's a revised version of the adventure taking place in a castle in the clouds that includes a way for non-flying characters to reach the Cloud Castle. And we can see here, players are traveling through the sky when they come across a majestic castle floating in the clouds. It is made of shimmering crystal, and the players have heard rumors of a potential artifact within the castle. They've decided to brave the dangers and attempt to retrieve it. Introducing the Cloud Ladder. As the players approach the castle, they discover there is a way even non-flying characters can reach the castle. Magical cloud ladder extends from the ground to the castle. That'd be a long ladder, and the players can climb it to reach the castle gate. And otherwise, it's the same. So we've got our Cloud Guardian and our Cloud Elementals and the Thunder Lord. As the players approach the artifact, they are confronted by the Thunder Lord, a powerful being who guards the artifact. So I figure, what is a D&D adventure without some traps? So I said, let's add some traps to that adventure, and I didn't bother giving it any specifications for what kinds of traps, though you could. Now, there are a number of sample traps in the Dungeon Master's Guide, so I'm curious if it's just going to use those, or if it's going to come up with unique and original traps. So let's see what it does here. So we have the same setting in the scene, the Cloud Ladder, which is the same, the Cloud Guardian, that is also the same. Then we have the Cloud Elementals, and now we have, it says here, trap number 1, the floating minefield. As the players continue their journey through the clouds, they come across a room filled with floating mines. These mines will explode if the players get too close, and the players must use their skills to navigate the room and avoid the mines. And then it has trap number 2, the Hall of Shadows. The players come across a hall that is constantly changing from bright light to complete darkness. In the darkness, the players are attacked by shadow creatures that can only be seen in the dark. The players must use their skills and spells to survive the Hall of Shadows and reach the other side. And once they complete the second trap, then they go to the Thunder Lord. And finally, the conclusion, if the players successfully defeat the Thunder Lord and claim the artifact, they can return to the ground and collect their rewards. So then I asked it, provide the magic items the characters can find in the adventure. And it says, sure, here's some magic items the characters can find in the Cloud Castle adventure. And what do we got? We got a Ring of Flight, gives the ability to fly for a limited time. A lightning wand shoots bolts of lightning. And then Cloud Cloak. So a cloak made of cloud material gives the wearer the ability to become invisible and move stealthily. And then we have the Wind Chimes, the Shadow Amulet, an amulet that protects the wearer from shadow attacks and enhances their ability to see in the dark. Now that's interesting because one of the traps, of course, directly related to that. So it's actually thinking that it's going to take the magic items and connect it to stuff that it's put in the adventure. So that's really interesting. Then we have a Thunderstone, magical stone that can be used to call down bolts of lightning, and Stormcaller. We're seeing a lot of similar stuff here. So it's obviously taken the idea of clouds and it's just kind of trying to make them thematic, and a lightning talisman. So those are the magic items that it is suggesting. So those are some ideas for magic items. So what I've asked is, can it provide the game statistics for the magic items? Then I don't have to design them on my own. So it has the Ring of Flight. It requires attunement, and you get the ability to fly for 10 minutes a day. And then ability score bonus none. Lightning Wand. So attunement no, and you can cast Lightning Bolt once per day. Spellcasting bonus +1. So I assume that's the spell DC. Then the Cloud Cloak. And where this cloak can become invisible for up to 1 hour per day. Ability score bonus +2 to dexterity. And that's pretty good. And no attunement. So not balanced at all. All right, Wind Chimes. No attunement. They can be used to cast a spell, Gust of Wind. The Shadow Amulet. The wearer of this amulet gains resistance to shadow damage. Of course, there's no such thing as shadow damage. And can see in the dark. Ability score bonus +1 wisdom. Thunderstone. So it has the ability to cast the Thunder Wave once per day. Spellcasting bonus +1. Stormcaller, no attunement. And it can be used to summon a storm within a 1 mile radius. And a lightning talisman. The wearer of this talisman gains resistance to lightning damage and can cast a spell, Shocking Grasp, once per day. Woo! And spellcasting bonus +1. So, I mean, these aren't well balanced at all, but they are technically stat blocks for these magic items. Of course, one of the primary features of artificial intelligence is it can learn. So what I've told it is, there's no such thing as shadow damage in Dungeons & Dragons. Please fix the Shadow Amulet. It says, my apologies, you're correct. Here's a revised version of the Shadow Amulet. And I thought that it might change it to necrotic damage, but I see it just changed the description altogether, where this amulet gains advantage on saving throws against magical darkness. You can see in the dark up to 60 feet. So then I said, there's no saving throws against magical darkness. And it says, I apologize again. How about this revision? And then it gives me another one. This time, it's immune to the blinded condition caused by magical darkness and can see in the dark up to 60 feet. So you can kind of get the idea here. So I could play with this thing for hours, but what happens is, so what I was planning to do is, I was going to say, create a monster for Dungeons & Dragons, then I was going to say, okay, now make the monster a Mind Flayer, that's also a Warlock. Then I was going to ask it to write a joke about Mind Flayers, write a song about Mind Flayers. I mean, I could go on and on, but then it says, too many requests in 1 hour, try again later. And guess what happened when I came back later? Then, once again, it was apparently overrun with people, and I couldn't get in. And I haven't been able to get in since. Now, I have been playing with it for a couple days. I've had it write character backstories. I've had it try to optimize an archer. Now, this is what it came up with. It came up with a half-elf hunter ranger using a longbow and hunter's mark. So I think for now, I still have a job. I'm not going to be replaced by artificial intelligence yet, because it's still doing rangers with longbows and hunter's mark. And I am just starting to think about the various things I might have this do for Dungeons & Dragons. So I thought this was just so incredible that I wanted to tell you guys about it right away. So if you can get in, I suggest giving it a try just to play around. The things this can do is pretty impressive. It is not as good as a human being in some respects. You could see the kinds of magic items it was creating, the adventures. I mean, there weren't a lot of original ideas in them, but boy, it is fast. So if you were just trying to come up with something really quick, I think this as a tool is just unbelievable. And I mean, that starting script that I read to you, it came up with on its own, and I could read it word for word, and, it sounded pretty good. So I am really interested to see where this technology goes. I also thought it was relevant because we heard rumors of AI DMs on D&D Beyond. And just playing with this, maybe we're not as far off as I thought we were, but we're not there yet. So this is like some of the premier technology that's available publicly in the world. I doubt very highly that the people at Wizards of the Coast have expanded upon this AI and made it better than it is. So I wouldn't be too worried about AI DMs anytime soon. But this does give me the idea that they could come at some point. So I guess we'll see. Otherwise, until next time, I'm going to sit back, relax, and have some fun. D&D is for everyone. I swear to you that we'll get back to Wild Shape on Friday. Thanks, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.